He could be here on webcam.
He could.
Do I have to stand there, or can you just record my voice?
You record your voice.
Patty, just walk around.
Why don't we just have a huge camera?
I wondered what she was doing. Okay, so anyways, welcome back, everybody. If you do have questions about the upcoming examination, I would be glad to help out as best as I can. I'm hoping that you will have some questions prepared in advance. Some of you may even want to respond to your colleague's question, and then I will try to provide a response whenever I can do so as well. So let's begin with the first question to Tyler. How is that apple?
Really good.
Really good. Oh, not just
Best one of the year.
Is it really? I feel quite excited. Okay, very, very good. And let's go to the second question. Who would like to ask the second question? Tyler?
What is the first question on the test?
Let's go immediately to the third question. Mr. Downey, did you have a question?
Yeah, like what all are we gonna have to, what all are we supposed to know?
What all are you supposed
Or
to
are we
know?
supposed to be able to recall off the top of our head?
Okay, you need to be familiar with and comfortable with all of the material that is in the second module. You also need to be familiar and comfortable with everything that is in laboratory assignments 4, 5, and 6. Now, what is the second module exclusively about? Some of you may be familiar with this. I've said it a few times in the past. We're talking about the material in Chapter 3 that is related to Section 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. That is arrays, linked lists that are singly linked, and linked lists that are doubly linked. So, Mr. Dowdy, the first thing is the material in 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 using arrays, singly linked lists, and doubly linked lists. Of course, you should still be familiar with the analysis tools material. That is, what is the big O notation, what does it mean, and how do we use it in order to study the performance of our algorithms. So for example, we talked about the fact that the push method for a stack with an array, if implemented correctly, would be big O1. You should be able to explain what that means and how you arrived at the big O1 implementation. And then finally, the really key area of study is the material that was in Chapter 5, stacks, queues, and double-ended queues. And that, I think, gives at least a preliminary response to your question. Any other clarifying questions about that issue? Also, please be aware of the fact that the examination will be structured in a similar way to what you have seen in the past for the previous test. That means that there will be a total of 5 questions. Each question will have multiple parts. The parts of the question will be individually labeled for their point totals. And you should take the examination by operating as a point maximizer. Remember, you can do question 4B first if you think that's a good idea. If Alex wants to answer question 5 first, he can do that. Again, I would encourage you to look over the whole test, make an intelligent decision about the order in which you will answer the questions, follow through with that choice. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that I can assign you no partial credit if you don't write down something. So I would encourage you to at least put a preliminary response if you're not sure how to give a detailed answer. And then finally, I always tell my students that you should try to manage your time carefully. Generally speaking, you should time yourself and follow through with about 10 minutes per question. 10 to 12 minutes per question. I do want you to finish the examination on time. I reserve the right to assign a penalty if you turn the test in late. This is not because I want to proceed in a draconian or mean-spirited fashion, but it's due to the fact that I have to be fair to all students, even those who have to go to an examination or another class after this one. Yes?
Do you have an outline for your penalty system?
Say it again?
Do you have an outline for your penalty system?
I do not.
Like, how many points, like, get taken off if I turned in like 10 minutes late?
I do not. The answer is, all that I tell my students is that I reserve the right to assign a penalty if you turn